I think I didn't do anything wrong, just said something funny at a party, so why am I holding divorce papers now? Maybe I shouldn't have joked that my body belonged to whoever tried hard enough, but I never thought he'd leave me over a simple laugh. Now, everyone's looking at me like I'm the villain, but I still don't see what I did that was so terrible. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. The restaurant buzzed with Friday night energy. Our office crowd sprawled across 3 pushed-together tables in the trendy downtown spot Marcus always called overpriced. I felt alive here, surrounded by laughter and clinking glasses, basking in the attention I deserved after another grueling week at Open Plan Consulting. Marcus sat beside me, scrolling through his phone with that familiar distant expression. He never fit in at these gatherings. Too serious, too quiet, always making me feel like I had to apologize for wanting to have fun. At 35, he'd already settled into the life of an old man, content with his IT job and weekend Netflix binges. "Lire, you're glowing tonight," Theo said from across the table, his charming smile directed solely at me. At 31, he had that effortless confidence that drew people in, the kind Marcus had never possessed. "That dress is incredible on you." I felt heat rise in my cheeks, the good kind that reminded me I was still desirable. "Why, thank you, Theo. Nice to know someone notices when I make an effort." Marcus glanced up from his phone, his jaw tightening slightly. Here we go, I thought. His jealousy was becoming embarrassing. "Oh, come on, Marcus," I laughed, nudging him playfully. "Don't give me that look. Theo's just being nice, something you could learn from." The table erupted in knowing chuckles. Sarah from accounting raised her wine glass. "To Lire, for keeping us all entertained." Seriously, though, Theo leaned forward, his eyes twinkling with mischief. "What's your secret? You're like fine wine, getting better with age." The attention felt intoxicating. When was the last time Marcus had looked at me like that? When had he last made me feel special, wanted, alive? "Well," I said, standing up slightly and striking a pose, "I always say my body belongs to whoever tries hard enough to earn it." The table exploded in laughter and wolf whistles. Theo winked at me, slow and deliberate, making my stomach flutter in a way it hadn't in years. This was what I'd been missing: appreciation, desire, the thrill of being wanted. Marcus's chair scraped against the floor as he stood abruptly. "I need some air." "Oh, don't be such a drama queen," I called after him, but he was already weaving through the crowded restaurant toward the exit. "See what I have to deal with?" I told the table, rolling my eyes. "He gets jealous over nothing. I can't even joke around without him sulking." "His loss," Theo said, raising his glass to me. "Some men don't know how to handle a confident woman." Exactly. That was exactly the problem with Marcus. He was too insecure to appreciate what he had. I wasn't going to let his mood ruin my night. The party continued for another hour, but Marcus never came back inside. I found him waiting by our car in the parking lot, keys in hand, face unreadable in the dim light. "Ready to go?" he asked, his voice carefully neutral. "Finally. I thought you were going to pout out here all night." I slid into the passenger seat, still buzzing from the attention and wine. "You really need to lighten up, Marcus. It was just harmless fun." He didn't respond, just started the engine and pulled out into traffic. The silence stretched between us, thick and uncomfortable. I turned on the radio to fill the void, humming along to distract myself from his obvious mood. At home, I headed straight to our bedroom to change, kicking off my heels with a satisfied sigh. It had been a good night, despite Marcus's dramatics. I felt attractive, appreciated, feelings that had been in short supply lately. My phone buzzed as I was removing my jewelry, a text from an unknown number, but I recognized the tone immediately. "Had fun tonight. You looked amazing. That dress was definitely working for you. Theo." My heart skipped. He'd gotten my number somehow, probably from the office directory. I stared at the message, feeling that same flutter of excitement from earlier. Someone had noticed me, really seen me, in a way Marcus hadn't in years. I was still holding the phone when Marcus walked into the bedroom, and the screen's glow seemed blindingly bright in the dim room. Our eyes met across the space, and something shifted in his expression, a hardness I'd never seen before. "Everything okay?" he asked quietly. "Of course," I said, quickly setting the phone face down on the nightstand, just checking tomorrow's weather. But even as I said it, I could feel the weight of his stare, and for the first time that evening, a small knot of unease formed in my stomach. The next morning, Marcus was already gone when I woke up. Unusual for a Saturday. He typically slept in, made coffee, puttered around the apartment while our 8-year-old daughter Miri watched cartoons. Instead, I found a note on the kitchen counter. "Gone for a run. Back later." Miri looked up from her cereal, dark eyes so much like her father's. "Is Daddy mad?" "Of course not, sweetheart. Daddy just felt like exercising." I ruffled her hair, forcing brightness into my voice. You know how grown-ups can be moody sometimes. But even as I said it, I felt the phone in my robe pocket buzz with another message. My pulse quickened. "Hope I didn't get you in trouble last night. Worth it, though." I typed back quickly. "No trouble at all. Marcus is just sensitive." The response came almost immediately. "His loss. Coffee sometime this week." I stared at the message, thumb hovering over the keyboard. It was just coffee. Colleagues grabbed coffee all the time. There was nothing wrong with having a friend who appreciated my company. Maybe. We'll see how busy work gets. I'll take that as a yes. Looking forward to it. I tucked the phone away, but the smile lingered on my lips. It felt good to be pursued, to matter to someone who saw my worth. Marcus returned an hour later, sweaty and distant. He showered without a word, then settled at his laptop in the living room, working on a Saturday, which he never did. "Everything okay?" I asked, settling beside him on the couch. "Fine." He didn't look up from the screen. "You seem upset about last night." "It was just a joke, Marcus." Everyone was laughing. "I know." His fingers paused on the keyboard. "It's fine, Leray." But it wasn't fine. I could feel his withdrawal like a physical thing, cold and accusatory. This was exactly the problem. He couldn't handle me being social, being appreciated by other people. His insecurity was suffocating. My phone buzzed again. I glanced at it casually, but Marcus's eyes flicked toward the sound. "Popular today," he said quietly. "Just work stuff. You know how it is." I stood up, needing space from his suspicious energy. "I'm going to do some laundry." In the bedroom, I checked the message. "Can't stop thinking about that dress. You should wear red more often." Heat flushed through me. When was the last time Marcus had complimented my appearance? When had he last made me feel desirable instead of taken for granted? The day continued in uncomfortable silence. Marcus spoke only when necessary, answered Miri's questions with forced cheer, and spent most of his time either on his laptop or staring out the window with that new, unsettling intensity. By evening, I'd had enough. "Okay, what's your problem?" I confronted him after Miri went to bed. "You've been sulking all day." "I'm not sulking." "Then what do you call this? The silent treatment because I had fun at a party, because people enjoyed my company." He closed his laptop slowly, finally meeting my eyes. "Is that what you call it?" "What else would I call it? I made a joke, people laughed, and now you're acting like I committed a crime." "The joke wasn't the problem, Leray." "Then what was? Theo being friendly? God forbid someone finds me attractive." Something flickered in his expression. "Theo." "Yes, Theo, a colleague, a friend, someone who actually appreciates." "How long has this been going on?" The question hit me like cold water. "What's that supposed to mean?" "You know what it means." "No, I don't. Are you accusing me of something? Because if you are, just say it instead of playing these games." Marcus stood up, and for a moment I thought he might actually voice whatever suspicion was eating at him. Instead, he grabbed his keys from the counter. "Where are you going?" "Out." "Marcus, don't be ridiculous. We're having a conversation." "No, we're not." He headed for the door. "We haven't been having real conversations for months." "What's that supposed to mean?" But he was already gone, leaving me standing in our living room with my phone buzzing in my hand and a growing sense that something fundamental had shifted. I looked down at the new message. "Sweet dreams, beautiful. Tomorrow can't come soon enough." For the first time, instead of excitement, I felt a stab of something uncomfortably close to guilt. But that was ridiculous. I wasn't doing anything wrong. Marcus was the one with the problem. His jealousy, his inability to trust, his refusal to appreciate what he had. I wasn't going to let his insecurity ruin the first genuine connection I'd felt in years. When he came home 3 hours later, I was already in bed, pretending to sleep. He moved quietly through the apartment, and I heard him settle on the living room couch instead of joining me. The distance felt both vindictive and somehow final, like a line being drawn that neither of us was ready to acknowledge. Monday morning brought a return to normalcy, or so I thought. The office buzzed with its usual energy, and I felt lighter just being back in an environment where I was valued, where my contributions mattered. Theo appeared at my desk around 10, coffee in hand, and that easy smile that made my stomach flutter. "Good morning, gorgeous. Rough weekend?" I glanced around, but our corner of the office was relatively private. "You could say that. Someone's been in a mood. His loss is my gain." He perched on the edge of my desk, close enough that I could smell his cologne. "About that coffee. Theo." But I was smiling despite myself. "Just coffee, Lire. 2 colleagues discussing work projects." The way he said it, with that slight pause and knowing look, made it clear we both understood this was about more than work. And why shouldn't it be? I was 33, attractive, intelligent. I deserved someone who saw my worth. "Fine, but somewhere discreet. I don't need office gossip." "Of course, I know a place." He squeezed my shoulder as he stood, his hand lingering just long enough to send warmth shooting through me. This was what I'd been missing. Appreciation, desire, the thrill of being wanted by someone who actually paid attention. The coffee date happened Wednesday afternoon. We met at a small cafe across town, far from our usual haunts. Theo was charming, attentive, asking about my dreams and ambitions in a way Marcus hadn't in years. He listened when I talked, laughed at my jokes, made me feel like the most fascinating woman in the room. "You're wasted on him," he said as we prepared to leave. "A woman like you should be cherished, celebrated." "It's complicated. We have Miri to think about." "Of course. But you deserve to be happy, Lire. Life's too short to settle for someone who doesn't appreciate what they have." His words echoed in my mind for the rest of the week. At home, Marcus remained distant, polite but cold. We functioned like roommates, coordinating schedules and childcare, but avoiding any real conversation. He'd started working late, claiming new projects, and I wondered if he was punishing me for having friends, for being social. Friday brought Miri's school carnival, one of those mandatory parent events that Marcus usually handled alone while I worked late. This time, I decided to attend, partly for Miri, partly to prove I was a good mother despite whatever narrative Marcus might be constructing. The playground was crowded with families, the air filled with children's laughter and the smell of popcorn. Miri ran ahead to the face-painting booth, while Marcus and I followed at a careful distance, maintaining the appearance of a happy couple. "Lire." The voice made me freeze. Eloise Voss, Marcus's mother, appeared beside us with her usual disapproving expression intensified. At 61, she'd perfected the art of conveying judgment through facial expression alone. "Hello, Eloise. Lovely day for the carnival." "Indeed." Her eyes were cold, assessing. "I hear you've been quite social lately." The comment hit like a slap. I'm sorry. The office party, your performance. Heat flooded my cheeks. How could she possibly know about that? I don't know what you mean. Don't you? She stepped closer, lowering her voice but not her intensity. Making a spectacle of yourself in public while your husband watches. Flirting with coworkers like a teenager. Have you no shame? Eloise, Marcus started, but she cut him off. No, Marcus, someone needs to say it. This behavior is unacceptable. You have a daughter, responsibilities. Family values used to mean something. Other parents were starting to stare. I could feel their curious gazes, the whispered conversations beginning to spread. This was exactly the kind of public humiliation I'd dreaded. I think there's been a misunderstanding, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I was just having fun with colleagues. There's nothing inappropriate about... Nothing inappropriate. Eloise's voice rose slightly. Announcing to a room full of people that your body belongs to whoever tries hard enough, while your husband sits right there. The words hung in the air like an accusation. I could see other parents turning to look, their expressions shifting from curiosity to judgment. This was a disaster. It was a joke, I said weakly. Some jokes reveal more truth than we intend. Marcus touched his mother's arm. Mom, please. Not here. When then? When she's destroyed your marriage completely? I wanted to disappear, to sink into the ground and escape the stares and whispered conversations spreading through the crowd. But anger was rising too, hot and defensive. How dare you, I said, finding my voice. You have no right to judge me or my marriage. Marcus and I are fine. Are you? Eloise looked between us, and I saw Marcus's face, closed off, distant, nothing like a man whose marriage was fine. Because from where I stand, it looks like you're throwing away the best thing that ever happened to you. She walked away then, leaving me standing in the middle of the playground with dozens of eyes on me, and the horrible realization that somehow everyone seemed to know about things I thought were private. We should go, Marcus said quietly. No, we're staying for Miri. But the rest of the afternoon was torture. I could feel the stares, the whispered conversations, the judgment following me from booth to booth. When we finally left, Miri chattering happily about her face paint, I felt like I'd been publicly flayed. How does she know? I asked once we were in the car. Know what? About the party, about what I said. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Word gets around. What's that supposed to mean? It means people talk, Lire. Actions have consequences. There was something in his tone, a certainty that made my stomach clench. What aren't you telling me? Nothing you don't already know. But I did know, suddenly and with horrible clarity. Someone from the office had talked. Someone had spread the story, probably embellishing it, turning my moment of fun into something sordid and shameful. At home, my phone buzzed with a message from Theo. Heard there was some drama at the school thing. You okay? How did he know about that? How did everyone seem to know everything? I typed back, it's fine, just family stuff. If you need to talk, I'm here. Some people don't know how to handle a confident woman. His words should have been comforting, but instead they felt hollow. Because standing in my living room, watching Marcus help Miri with her homework, with that new distance in his eyes, I was beginning to realize that maybe the problem wasn't everyone else's inability to handle me. Maybe the problem was that I'd forgotten how to handle myself. The weekend passed in a haze of forced normalcy. Marcus spoke to me only when necessary, his politeness more cutting than anger would have been. He helped Miri with her homework, made breakfast, did laundry. All the domestic routines that usually felt comfortable now seemed performative, like he was checking boxes rather than living his life. Sunday evening, as I was putting Miri to bed, she looked up at me with those serious dark eyes. Mummy, why is Daddy sad? The question hit me like a physical blow. Daddy's not sad, sweetheart. He's just tired from work. He looks sad, like when Grandpa died. The comparison made my throat tight. Everything's fine, baby. Sometimes grown-ups just have things on their minds. But as I tucked her in and kissed her goodnight, I could see she wasn't convinced. Children saw things adults tried to hide, felt tensions we thought we were managing. Marcus was in the kitchen when I came out, methodically cleaning dishes that were already clean. "We need to talk," I said. "Do we?" "Yes. This silent treatment is ridiculous. You're upsetting Miri." He set down the dish towel and turned to face me. "I'm upsetting her." "Yes. She asked why you're sad. She compared you to when your father died, Marcus. Is that really what you want?" Something flickered in his expression. Pain, maybe, or recognition. But it was gone quickly, replaced by that careful neutrality that was somehow worse than anger. "You're right. I don't want to upset Miri." "Good. So let's figure this out. What do you need from me?" He was quiet for so long I thought he wouldn't answer. When he finally spoke, his voice was carefully controlled. "I need honesty." "I've been honest." "Have you?" The question hung between us. I could feel the weight of all the small lies, the hidden messages, the coffee dates I'd framed as work meetings. But they weren't really lies, were they? They were just private things, personal boundaries. Everyone deserved friendship, appreciation, someone who saw their worth. "I don't know what you want me to say." "I want you to tell me about Theo." My stomach dropped. "What about him?" "Everything." "He's a colleague, a friend. We work together, we talk sometimes, that's it." "That's it?" "Yes, that's it. What else would it be?" Marcus pulled out his phone, and I watched with growing dread as he scrolled through something. When he found what he was looking for, he set the device on the counter between us. It was a screenshot of a social media post, me at the office party, laughing, with Theo's arm around my waist in the background. The caption read, "Living my best life. My body belongs to whoever tries hard enough touching confident woman touching living life." I stared at the image, my face burning. I didn't remember posting that. I'd been drinking, feeling good, riding the high of attention and appreciation. It had seemed funny at the time, empowering even. "I was drunk," I said weakly. "I know. It doesn't mean anything." "Doesn't it?" "No, it was a joke, a moment of fun. You're reading too much into it." "Am I?" He scrolled to something else, a comment thread under the post. Theo had commented, "Some men don't know how lucky they are." I had responded, "Tell me about it." The exchange looked damning in black and white, flirtatious and inappropriate in a way I hadn't recognized when I'd typed it. "This still doesn't mean anything," I said, but my voice lacked conviction. "Show me your phone." "What?" "Your phone. Show me your messages with him." The request felt like a violation, an invasion of privacy that no spouse had the right to demand. "Absolutely not." "Why not?" "Because you don't get to spy on me. I'm entitled to privacy, to friendships, to conversations that don't involve you." "Are you?" "Yes. This is exactly the problem, Marcus. Your jealousy, your need to control everything. I can't even have friends without you." "Friends don't text at midnight." The word stopped me cold. "What?" "Friends don't send good morning messages every day. They don't compliment your body, don't suggest coffee dates, don't tell you that you deserve better than your husband." Each word hit like a physical blow. How could he know all that? Had he been reading my messages, going through my phone while I slept? "Have you been spying on me?" "I haven't had to. You're not as discreet as you think." "What's that supposed to mean?" Marcus pulled out a folder I hadn't noticed before, thick with papers. "It means people talk, Lire. It means when you meet a coworker for coffee across town, someone sees you. When you laugh at his jokes and touch his hand across the table, someone notices. When you post about your body belonging to whoever tries hard enough, and he comments about lucky men, people connect dots." My legs felt weak. "You've been following me?" "I've been trying to understand why my wife has become a stranger." "I haven't. You have. The woman I married wouldn't have humiliated me in public, wouldn't have carried on an emotional affair while our daughter asks why Daddy's sad. It's not an affair. We're friends. Are you in love with him? The question hit me like a slap. What? Are you in love with Theo? No, it's not. It's complicated. It's not complicated, it's simple. You're having an emotional affair, and you're too selfish to admit it. Anger flared, hot and defensive. Don't you dare call me selfish. I've given everything to this family, to this marriage. I work full-time. I take care of Miri. I manage this household while you sit in your office and ignore us both. Is that what you tell yourself? It's the truth. The truth is that you've been checked out of this marriage for months. The truth is that instead of talking to me about problems, you found someone else to make you feel special. The truth is that our 8-year-old daughter is asking why Daddy's sad while you're texting another man about how you deserve better. Each word was precise, cutting, delivered with a calm that was more devastating than shouting would have been. You're twisting everything, I said, but even to my own ears, the protest sounded weak. Am I? He picked up the folder. Because I have 6 months of evidence that says otherwise. Evidence of what? Friendship, conversation, the crime of having someone appreciate me. Evidence of betrayal. The word hung in the air between us, final and damning. I wanted to deny it, to explain, to make him understand that it wasn't what he thought. But looking at his face, at the pain and disappointment and something that looked like resignation, I realized that maybe it was exactly what he thought. Marcus, I'm staying at my mother's tonight. You don't have to do that. We can work this out. Can we? He was already moving toward the bedroom, presumably to pack a bag. Because from where I stand, you've already made your choice. What choice? He paused in the doorway, looking back at me with an expression I'd never seen before. Not anger, not hurt, but something like pity. Him over us. That's not true. But he was already gone, leaving me standing in our kitchen with the weight of his accusations and the horrible realization that maybe, somewhere along the way, I had made exactly the choice he described. 20 minutes later, I heard his car pull out of the driveway. I stood at the window, watching his taillights disappear, my phone buzzing in my hand with a message from Theo. Thinking about you. Hope you're having a good evening. For the first time since this all started, I didn't respond. Marcus stayed at his mother's for 3 days. 3 days of stilted phone calls about Miri's schedule, of explaining to our daughter why Daddy was visiting Grandma, of rattling around our apartment, feeling like a stranger in my own life. I threw myself into work, grateful for the distraction and the normalcy of office routines. Theo was attentive as always, bringing me coffee and asking if I was okay. But something had shifted. His attention felt heavier now, more complicated, weighted with implications I wasn't ready to examine. Trouble in paradise? He asked Wednesday afternoon, perching on my desk with his usual casual confidence. Something like that. Want to talk about it? I'm a good listener. The offer was tempting. Marcus wouldn't listen, wouldn't try to understand my perspective. But Theo saw me, appreciated me, valued my thoughts and feelings. Maybe later. I need to focus on work right now. Of course, but Lirai. He leaned closer, his voice dropping to that intimate tone that made my stomach flutter. You deserve better than someone who makes you feel like you have to choose between happiness and loyalty. The words echoed in my mind for the rest of the day. Was that what Marcus was doing? Forcing me to choose between my own happiness and some outdated notion of marital loyalty? Why couldn't I have both? A stable home for Miri and someone who made me feel alive. Thursday evening, Marcus came home to collect more clothes. I was helping Miri with homework when he walked in, and the careful way he avoided looking at me felt like another small rejection. Daddy! Miri launched herself at him, and for a moment his careful composure cracked. Hey, baby girl. How was school? Good. I missed you. Are you coming home now? Not yet, sweetheart. Daddy's still visiting Grandma. Why? Is she sick? Marcus glanced at me over her head. No, she's not sick. Sometimes grown-ups just need space to think about things. What things? Complicated things. But it's not your fault, okay? Daddy loves you very much. The conversation was breaking my heart. This was exactly what I'd been trying to avoid. Miri caught in the middle of adult problems, confused and hurt by things she couldn't understand. After he tucked her in and read her a story, Marcus emerged from her room with that same careful neutrality. "We need to discuss logistics," he said. "Logistics? Custody arrangements, financial responsibilities, how we're going to handle this going forward." The words hit me like cold water. Handle what going forward? The separation. What separation? Marcus, this is ridiculous. You're staying at your mother's because of a misunderstanding. Come home. We'll work it out. Will we? He sat down across from me at the kitchen table, pulling out that same folder from before. Because I've spent 3 days thinking about this, and I don't see how we work it out when you won't even admit there's a problem. Fine. You want me to admit there's a problem? There's a problem. We've grown apart. We don't communicate well. We've let other people and pressures affect our marriage. But that doesn't mean we give up. What about Theo? The question hung in the air. I could lie, minimize, deflect, all the strategies I'd been using for weeks. Or I could tell the truth and hope it wasn't too late. Theo is a complication. A complication? Yes, he's someone who makes me feel appreciated, valued. Someone who sees me as more than just a wife and mother. And that's what you want? To be seen as more than a wife and mother? I want to be seen, period. When was the last time you complimented me, Marcus? When did you last ask about my dreams, my goals, my feelings about anything other than household logistics? He was quiet for a moment, and I thought maybe I was getting through to him. You're right, he said finally. I haven't been the husband you needed. I got comfortable, took you for granted, assumed we were solid when maybe we weren't. Hope flared in my chest. So we can fix this. Can we? Because taking responsibility for my failures doesn't change the fact that instead of talking to me about problems, you started an emotional affair. It's not. It is, Liray. And until you can admit that, until you can take responsibility for your choices, we can't fix anything. Anger rose again, hot and defensive. So this is all my fault? Your emotional distance, your lack of attention, your mother's interference, none of that matters because I found someone who actually appreciates me. It all matters, but we can't address any of it while you're still lying to yourself about what you've done. I haven't done anything wrong. Marcus opened the folder and pulled out a stack of papers. These say otherwise. My heart stopped. They were printouts, text messages, social media posts, timestamps and screenshots that painted a damning picture of my relationship with Theo. Messages I'd forgotten about, casual flirtations that looked calculated in black and white, conversations that revealed the depth of my emotional investment in someone who wasn't my husband. How did you get these? It doesn't matter how. It does matter. This is a violation of privacy, an invasion of... Of what? Your affair. Stop calling it that. What else should I call it? You've been emotionally intimate with another man for months. You've shared thoughts and feelings with him that you haven't shared with me. You've met him secretly, lied about your relationship, and posted publicly about your availability to other men. What would you call it? I stared at the papers, seeing my own words reflected back at me. Out of context, they looked terrible, flirtatious, inappropriate, the communications of a woman who was definitely not committed to her marriage. It wasn't supposed to be like this, I said weakly. What was it supposed to be? Friendship, someone who understood me, who made me feel good about myself. At my expense. No, not at your expense. For me, something that was mine, that made me happy. While you were married to me. Yes, while I was married to you. Because being married doesn't mean I stopped being a person with needs and feelings and the right to connections with other people. Marcus gathered the papers back into the folder. You're right. Being married doesn't mean you stop being a person. but it does mean you don't cultivate intimate relationships with other people while lying to your spouse about it. I never lied. You lied by omission. You hid the relationship, minimized it, gaslit me when I asked questions. You made me feel crazy for noticing changes in your behavior. Each accusation hit home because each one was true. I had hidden things, minimized the relationship, made him feel paranoid for noticing what was obvious. I'm sorry, I said and meant it. I'm sorry I hurt you. I'm sorry I handled this badly. But Marcus, I'm not sorry for needing more than what we had. He nodded slowly. I understand that, and I'm sorry I didn't give you more, but needing more doesn't justify betrayal. So what happens now? Marcus stood up, folder in hand. Now we figure out how to co-parent Miri while we work through legal separation. Legal separation? The words felt like a physical blow. Marcus, no. We can work this out. I'll end things with Theo. We'll go to counseling. Will you end things with Theo? The question should have been easy to answer. Of course I would end things with him if it meant saving my marriage. But looking at Marcus's face, seeing the pain and disappointment, and something that looked like resignation, I realized the damage might already be too extensive to repair. Yes, I said, but even I could hear the uncertainty in my voice. I don't think you will. And even if you did, I don't think you'd do it for the right reasons. You'd do it because you got caught, because there were consequences, not because you understand why it was wrong. I do understand, do you? Because everything you've said tonight has been about your needs, your feelings, your right to happiness. Nothing about our marriage, our family, the promises we made to each other. He was right, and the realization was devastating. Even now, even faced with the collapse of my marriage, I was still thinking primarily about myself, my hurt, my needs, my justifications. I love you, I said desperately. I love our family. I know you do, but love isn't enough when trust is gone. He headed toward the door, then paused. My lawyer will be in touch about custody arrangements and financial separation. I want this to be as amicable as possible for Miri's sake. Your lawyer? The words felt surreal. Marcus, please, don't do this. We can work it out. We had months to work it out. You chose a different path. And then he was gone, leaving me alone in our kitchen with the ruins of my marriage and the horrible realization that, maybe, in all my justifications and rationalizations, I had chosen exactly the path he described. My phone buzzed with a message from Theo. Free for dinner tomorrow? I know a place that's very discreet. For the first time in months, I deleted the message without responding. The next 2 weeks vanished in a blur of lawyers, paperwork, and shame. Marcus's attorney, Patricia Bennett, was calm and ruthless, presenting screenshots, texts, and witness statements that stripped every excuse bare. My lawyer could only whisper about settling. It wasn't physical, I said again and again. Emotional infidelity counts, she replied, especially when it's public. The gossip at work was unbearable. Theo, the man who'd once told me I deserved better, quietly backed away. By the time the custody hearing arrived, I was alone. Judge Morrison listened patiently as Patricia outlined my pattern of deception. Then she held up one of Miri's drawings. Our family split in two, a sad face over her father. Mrs. Voss, she said, your actions have already affected your child. Intent matters less than impact. I tried to explain, to apologize, but the decision came swiftly. Joint legal custody, primary physical custody to Marcus. Alternate weekends, and 1 weeknight for me. When the gavel fell, it sounded like an ending. Outside, Marcus said quietly, I never wanted it like this. Didn't you? I snapped, then broke. Tell Miri I love her. I will, he said, and I hope you figure out what you're really looking for. After he left, I sat in my car, staring at the courthouse steps. One message from my mother. None from Theo. Another from a stranger offering attention I no longer wanted. I deleted it. For the first time, I saw my choices clearly. Not mistakes, but decisions. And now, all I had left was the cost of them. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next story. Write in the comments from which city you are watching.